Beacon Press Audio presents The Smartphone Society, Technology, Power, and Resistance in the New Gilded Age by Nicole Aschoff. This audiobook is narrated by Bevilacqua Farber, published by Beacon Press Audio, 2020. Introduction. "I've lost my phone," a woman wailed. Choking down panic, she realized she'd left it on the back seat of the taxi on the way to the airport. Bystanders quickly mustered to help, calling the lost phone, offering advice and moral support. The woman was Lucy Kellaway, a Financial Times reporter who later recounted her ordeal in a fluffy piece for the newspaper. Kellaway observed that, on the scale of human calamities, losing your phone is now seen as up there with cardiac arrest, and that even with her wallet and laptop still in hand, as she sat in her hotel room that evening, she felt all wrong, exposed and vulnerable, because her smartphone was hundreds of miles away. Most people have lost their phone at some point, or have feared they had, and have experienced that moment of sweaty, heart-pounding dread, but Kellaway's story is illuminating all the same. It neatly captures our surprise and unease at how attached we've become to pocket computers. We simply can't imagine life without them. Whether we're fine with this attachment, resolvedly not thinking about it, or trying to de-link with a new dumb phone, the reality is clear. In just 10 years, smartphones have become woven into the fabric of everyday life. Smartphones have catalyzed rapid shifts in how people communicate, fall in love, raise their families, and burnish their social status. They have facilitated the creation of new jobs and new ways of working. They have given rise to new consumption patterns, and they are at the center of new visions about democracy, politics, and the future. Yet despite momentous technological advances, the present moment is fraught with contradictions. Observers liken it to the late 19th century Gilded Age, a time of robber barons, staggering inequality, and seismic technological and social shifts. In this new Gilded Age, life seems more precarious than ever. Society is riven by racism, sexism, and xenophobia. Regular folks feel lucky to get and hold on to a job in an economy dominated by superstar firms. The powerful unions and social safety net that once protected workers and their families are a distant memory. As the gap between rich and poor yawns ever wider, anxiety about a robot future in which technology replaces the livelihoods of ordinary people abounds. The changes we've witnessed since Steve Jobs ever so casually pulled an iPhone out of his pocket at Apple's 2007 Macworld meeting in San Francisco feel monumental and unprecedented, and they are. Yet a glance to the past shows that we've been here before. In their landmark study, Middletown, a study in contemporary American culture, the sociologists Robert and Helen Lind described a similar moment of flux, 1920s America and its emergent love affair with the automobile. By the end of the Roaring Twenties, the automobile had become central to the lives of Middletown, actually Muncie, Indiana, residents, an accepted essential of normal living and an important criterion of social fitness. Homes built during the period no longer contained formal parlors because unmarried daughters now socialized with their beaux on unchaperoned dates out in the car, a source of both fierce disagreement between parents and children and growing moral panic over sex crimes committed in automobiles. Young men whose families didn't own a car were excluded from social clubs, and families were rumored to purchase cars to help their children fit in. Walking for pleasure or bicycling marked one for abuse from young boys known to shout, "Aw, why don't you buy a machine?" Leisurely weekend lunches, followed by afternoons socializing on the front porch with extended family and neighbors, had given way to Middletown housewives preparing an informal bite so Mom, Dad, and the kids could get out in the car. Sunday car treks also encouraged skipping church, another threat to group-sanctioned values. Middletown pastors weren't the only ones complaining of a loss of devotion. Shopkeepers groused that people spent every spare dime on their automobiles. Working families devoted a week's pay every month to financing the family vehicle. And when work dried up, as it regularly did, residents declared they'd go without new clothes and even food rather than give up the car. Cars also helped Middletowners cope with painful bouts of unemployment. For the first time, men could commute to other towns to find work, and they were doing just that, creating a migratory laboring population. This severing of the need for proximity between home and work increased home ownership, road construction, and car-related industries, but gravely worried city boosters and business owners who saw a migratory population as less moral, less politically engaged, and less likely to spend money where they lived. But working families had few options. The assembly lines that men toiled on to build the cars and the parts that went into them changed the way work was organized and, by extension, how ordinary people made a living. 18-year-old boys were suddenly earning a man's wages, which, alongside the entry of women into the paid workforce, encouraged early marriage, while men in their 40s and 50s were routinely let go, deemed too old for the assembly line. 1920s America may be a bygone era, but the parallels between the moment described by the Linds and the present are striking. The automobile, like the smartphone today, brought both a sense of wonder and intense anxiety. Like those Middletowners, we are in the midst of society-wide social, economic, and political change, and a new machine is once again at the center of it all, the smartphone. If the automobile was the defining commodity of the 20th century, the smartphone is the defining commodity of the 21st. A new tether. More than 80% of American adults own a smartphone. The average iPhone user checks her phone 80 times a day. That's about 30,000 times between one birthday and the next. In the United States, where the modern smartphone was born, roughly 6 out of 10 adult smartphone users sleep next to their phones. If we wake up in the middle of the night, we might quickly scroll through our messages. Many of us don't eat breakfast or go for walks without our phones, not even a walk to the bathroom. Americans are not alone in this behavior. In Germany, the word Smombie, a portmanteau of smartphone and zombie, was coined to describe the prevalence of zoned-out smartphone users shuffling around town. Smombies are traffic hazards, prompting Augsburg, a city northeast of Munich, to embed warning lights in sidewalks to alert Smombies of approaching streetcars. Chunking, China has toyed with designated walking lanes for phone users, modeled on an earlier experiment in Washington, D.C. Whether we're crammed on the subway, watching our kids' taekwondo practice, or fidgeting at a stoplight, most of us are on our smartphones, which have rapidly overtaken older, limited-feature cell phones. Our umbilical attachment to our smartphones means they're always at the ready to film happenings, whether it's a clumsy lion falling into a pond in a German zoo, or the local police brutalizing a member of the community. Look at the crowd at a Taylor Swift concert. Nearly everyone is filming the show. Ponder the photos of the worldwide vigils that followed the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida. Phones are aloft, flashlights on, in a show of respect and solidarity. We fill in the gaps and spare moments of our days socializing with each other through our smartphones. We send trillions of texts, the vast majority going to family and close friends, swipe through Tinder profiles searching for our soulmate, and video chat with cousins in India. Indeed, Indians use so much bandwidth sending good morning messages and photos on WhatsApp that their phones routinely run out of space and freeze. Smartphones are quickly becoming our everything device. Nowhere is this clearer than in China, where the vast majority of the country's 800 million internet users connect to the web through their shouji, or hand machines. The mammoth e-commerce conglomerate Alibaba allows users to log into their accounts with a selfie and pay for nearly everything with Alipay, Alibaba's mobile payment system. Even homeless people use Alipay to accept donations. Users of rival conglomerate Tencent's WeChat app, a multi-purpose app for social media, messaging, and mobile payments, send each other digital red envelopes, the traditional way to send a gift in China, hail a cab, book doctor's appointments, or buy noodles at tiny street stalls, all using the same app. Urban Chinese can go weeks without pulling out their wallets. Indeed, paying in cash risks marking oneself as du, Mandarin for provincial or unsophisticated. Given the nearly universal use and acceptance of smartphones, commenting on how social norms have been reorganized around or created by smartphones might seem a bit like telling an "I lost my phone" story, relatable but not remarkable. Our expectations about what we should get from and how we interact with digital technology have shifted so quickly and dramatically since 2011, the year the Pew Research Center conducted its first standalone study of smartphone ownership in America and found that roughly a third of American adults owned a smartphone, that we often breeze over how norms and behaviors have changed. As the 19th century historian Charles Francis Adams Jr. said of the newly omnipresent railroad,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?